So next step is our analyzing investment centers. And so what is our investment centers? Our investment centers goal is to make investments, make income from purchasing assets generally. And so how do we measure this? It's these concepts of return on investment, residual income, profit margin, and investment turnover. We're going to memorize all of these formulas because you're going to know them the rest of your accounting career. Return on investment, ROI. This is talked about in Shark Tank all the time. What's your ROI, right? We need to know ROI. So what is ROI? It's our investment center income, the income, divided by our investment center average invested assets. So we could just take away investment center here. Let me edit this. I could just take away my investment center here and put income over average assets, still ROI. What is our income versus our compared to our average assets? The idea here is this will tell us how we can make decisions between different investments because we have a limited amount of resources. If I had unlimited money, I could buy everything. I got to buy every boba shop in the Bay Area and make a bunch of profit. But I don't have unlimited money. I could decide if I want to buy a boba shop, or I could decide if I want to buy a house, or I could decide if I want to buy an apartment, or I could decide if I want to get a college education. There's a million different ways that we can invest our money. Companies have the same issue. We can invest more in phones or maybe TVs. So how do we make those determinations? There's a lot of different ways, a lot more complex models you learn in your finance class. The general concept, though, is your return on investment. So return on investment, we compare two different buckets and to try to determine how much income can I make compared to the amount of assets I have to invest in. And so here we find out that this in LCD, even though we might get more net income from our investment in LCD, we need a lot more average assets. So our S phone, dividing the 417,000 into the 1.85 million, we actually, even though we make less from our net income, it's actually a better ROI. So looking at ROI, we'd probably invest in the phones, not the LCD division. What is residual income? The residual income is another way to look at how we can compare investments and choose with our limited resources if we want to invest in product A or product B. So investment center net income less a target investment center net income. And so we might say that our goal as a company is to make at least an 8% return on any of the money that we invest. And so based on our assets. So the target investment is normally based off of assets. So I'd say like a company, most companies, right? If you invest in the stock market, individuals too, you generally make about a 6 to 8% return over the long haul. So a company will benchmark against that and say, we need to make at least as much as if we'd invest in another company. Like generally, we should be making a lot more as a company to scale. Otherwise, why not just invest in other companies and not worry about the hassle, right? And so this company is saying we have to make at least an 8%. And then we'll look at the difference above the 8% to get our residual income. And so we're saying here, 8% of 2,500 versus 8% of 1,850, which one would have a higher residual income? We'd say the LCD division actually has a higher investment center residual income. And so if we use this rather than the ROI, we would generally determine LCD division is correct. Generally, what most companies will do is use the investment center residual income first, say, does this meet our threshold? And then once it does, we'll use an ROI to narrow our division to determine which one makes more sense. And then we can also analyze our investment centers using profit margin and investment return, investment turnover. So thought here, right, we're not going to use anything in isolation, nothing in isolation. We're going to do everything. We're going to look at every one of these indicators and then decide based on all the indicators what's our best investment. And I'm happy to go through examples how you could do that in the stock market as well if we have some time and it's an interest of the class. And I think I've done that. I think I've recorded some lectures on that I can share. Investment center profit margin, investment turnover. I used a combination of these metrics in order to like make 3x my original investment on Walmart a few years back and Apple as well. So definitely worthwhile to learn these if you're ever interested in investing, but you can use them in managerial accounting in the real world as well. So let's talk about profit margin and turnover. So this return on investment, this I believe this is called the DuPont formula, but return on investment is equal to profit margin times investment turnover. And so knowing this and these underlyings, you kind of get you can algorithmically play with all of these three pieces in order to figure out like what profit margin equals, what investment turnover equals. You can just play with this and make different divisions. So profit margin, right, is our income over sales. Investment turnover is sales over average asset, and return on investment is sales is our income over average asset. And so we can easily manipulate all of these in order to then get to different formulas as well. And so just memorize each one of these. I need you to memorize that your investment, your return on investment is income over average assets. Investment turnover is sales over average assets. Profit margin is income over sales. And so, right, we could scratch out the sales. You could use your different math to scratch out sales and figure out that your income over your average assets is equal to your return on investment, right? So the thought here is we can calculate different components based on these metrics to see what do I mean by profit margin? Profit margin being how much money do I make for each sale? So like a Walmart might have a very low profit margin, a few percentage, while an accounting firm might have a very high profit margin, where we take home a lot of money for every sale we make, but it's a lot harder for us to make a sale. Investment turnover is how quickly do we make those sales? And that breaks it out. So how quickly do we sell product? And then how much money do we make on each product sold? So an accounting firm has pretty low turnover. We probably don't make a lot. For a maximum, a person can work 2,000 to 3,000 hours a year. 3,000 hours is really pushing it. But I make a lot of profit per person if you're a good firm. While if you are and you might not sell a lot you might not have a ton of people working. But maybe a better example is Walmart versus Lexus, right? Lexus is not going to sell as many cars as Walmart sells. As Walmart sells frozen dinners, right? It's just not going to happen. There's not a lot more people buy the frozen dinners than cars. Walmart is going to make a lot less profit on those frozen dinners than Ford will or Lexus will on its cars, right? And so you can play with these. You can either sell more products, sell a lot of products at a low profit margin to make a good ROI, or you can sell a very few amount of very high profit products to make a good ROI. And so that's other ways we can compare our business. And so here we can compare two different businesses, like our media network here, better profit margins than our parks and resorts, but we have a stronger turnover for our media networks. And ultimately that means we get a better, we have better everything for our media. We have better turnover, we have better profit, which leads to a better return on investments. And all these calculations are done using the numbers above. Here's the formulas.